Yo, what's up, everybody? That's right. I'm back once again, this time here for the Midweek Report for September 25th, 2024. We got like a busy week here, at least over in the East Coast of the U.S., as we're having a number of boxing events that are happening over the weekend, you know, and we're going to, talk about that here in this particular report as we got a lot of action on Friday night, right? On Friday night, we have at the very least two to three particular boxing events that we're, pretty much focusing on here over in the States. And you also have a fight that's happening over in the UK on Friday night, you know. We're going to try to get through as much as this as we can here on this particular midweek report. As I'm gonna be preparing to actually pull off a doubleheader for the weekend. Yes, I'm coming back from London, England, from last weekend, and then now going to events over in New York City and in Atlantic City uh, this weekend. So no real time to rest, no real time to chill out. That's what happens. When it's boxing. I mean, we got a number of things here. That we're going to that we have to do here in order to cover the sport. For y'all, for the people, and things like that. So we're going to basically get into it, right? As we have what's going on in the theater at Madison Square Garden. Top Rank will have, or they will host, bouts that will be on ESPN and ESPN Plus, as headlined by Sandy Ryan versus Michaela Mayer for the WBO World Welterweight title there. And this will also include Xander Zayas, undefeated, of course, there in the super welterweight division, going up against Damian Sosa. Bruce Carrington versus Suleiman Sagawa, which is one fight in the featherweight division that I'm really looking forward to. Okay, and I'll talk about that here in a bit. Elvis Rodriguez, there, of course, he's back with Top Rank, going up against Kendo Castaneda. Rohan Polanco versus Marcelino Lopez. Vito Milnicki Jr. will be on this card, going up against Khalil El Haraz there in the super welterweight division. You got Tiger Johnson also on this card against Yomar Alamo, and Floyd Diaz versus Mario Hernandez. So we got, man, it is, like I said, it is packed with fights there for that particular fight card. We're going to get into it here, of course, with the main event there being Sandy Ryan versus Michaela Mayer for that WBO welterweight title. Sandy Ryan is coming in there as the champ. Okay. She had her recent win over Terry Harper, in March, there, as she was, able to defend the WBO welterweight title. She had that split draw against Jessica McCaskill last year, where a number of people felt like Sandy Ryan had won that particular bout. Pretty much, I think, pretty much could have clearly won that bout according to some, but it ended up being a split draw in 2023, where she could have held like most of the welterweight titles. But like I said, she was able to have a win there over Terry Harper, stop Terry Harper there in March. And that, led to this particular bout here against Michaela Mayer. Y'all know about Michaela Mayer's, bouts that she's had against Alicia Baumgartner and against Natasha Jonas, which that Jonas fight was a recent fight that she had where she lost by a split decision. And some felt that she won both bouts, the one against Alicia Baumgartner at super featherweight and the one against Natasha Jonas, right? She's kind of like been, on the short end of like two of her highest profile fights that she's had recently. So this is another one where she is able to try to get a world title there in the welterweight division against Sandy Ryan. She's there coming in at 19 wins, 5 of those wins by stoppage with 2 losses, as I mentioned. There, she's at 5'9" with a reach of 66.5 in comparison to Sandy Ryan, who's coming in there with a record of 7 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, with 3 of those wins by way of knockout. I talked about that draw that she had against Jessica McCaskill. She lost a split decision to Erica Farias back in 2022. So she's also been involved in some close bouts there that had some disputed decisions there. So this is going to be like I said, it's going to be a very good bout between the two there. Sandy Ryan's coming in there at 31 years old, Michaela Mayer at 34, and Mayer is there being just a little bit taller, for the height at 5'9", while Sandy Ryan is listed at 5'8.5". Sandy Ryan is there, of course, coming from the United Kingdom, basically, a matchroom fighter. Well, hopefully for matchroom boxing, that Sandy Ryan comes out the victor in this particular bout, because matchroom boxing is not fared very well at all in these cross promotional bouts this year. So now you have, like I said, Sandy Ryan going up against Michaela Mayer here in this one, and for Mayer, she kind of like has been representing Top Rank here, and as you see here, was able to have a headline bout at Madison Square Garden Theater here. So I think this one, at least for Michaela Mayer, is a really big fight for Michaela Mayer here, as she is, like I said, she fell short against Alicia Baumgartner. She fell short against Natasha Jonas here, and can't necessarily afford, at least I would say, can't necessarily afford a loss here at this particular stage, especially with this, being a headliner bout. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be really interesting here to have, these two combatants, Sandy Ryan and Michaela Mayer, on here. Like I said, headlining a fight card here at Madison Square Garden Theater in New York on a Friday night. That's going to be on ESPN. You know what I mean? Like I said, that's going to be interesting there. I might be, let me see here. I might be able to try to invite a couple of people on to, join on the conversation here for the Midweek Report in a little bit. As we want to, get there, get some thoughts in reference to what's going on, because at the very least, I know that one person that has been a frequent guest here on the Boxing Source channel, right, will be in attendance there. And then another guest here, if I'm able to have them on, right, is, I think he was able to have a conversation with Tim Tszyu, of course, a former world champion at 154 pounds, which, may talk about that here in a little bit, as far as like the pressure that he had. All right. So, but yeah, that's something, that I'll be probably seeing if I could have them come up here and speak during the midweek report. But back to this whole thing there, like I said, with the main event that's going on a Friday night, Madison Square Garden Theater. That's going to be very interesting to see, Sandy Ryan and Michaela Mayer go at it there for that WBO welterweight title, and kind of like see where they're at as far as like being at around the top of the division. You still have Natasha Jonas that's there. Like I said, had that win over Michaela Mayer. You still have Terry Harper as a definite competitor there in that division, as I mentioned, with these fights that Terry Harper has had against Sandy Ryan, like Cecilia Brækhus, and Alicia Baumgartner as well. So definitely has had a lot of these fights that have happened within the welterweight and the what is it, super lightweight, super featherweight divisions from all the way down to 130 up to now 147 pounds. So definitely is a lot of competition there within those weight classes there. So you'll want to see, how both of these fighters kind of like fare. Like I said, I'll be there live, Madison Square Garden Theater in New York City for that main event. Now, I am also looking forward to this bout in the featherweight division for the guys. Bruce Carrington takes on Suleiman Sagawa there in the featherweight division. And I am pretty certain that this one is going to be a WBC eliminator bout. I'm fairly sure that it's going to be a WBC eliminator bout of sorts, right? Because you have Bruce Carrington, right, as currently number 2 in the WBC rankings there as of last week. And Suleiman Sagawa is at number 3 in the WBC rankings. Carrington has, an NABF title there, affiliated with the WBC. And Suleiman Sagawa has the silver title, WBC silver title here. You know what I'm saying? And for Sagawa, he was pretty much based in the area that I am at in the DMV. He was there, of course, coming in with that record of 17 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw, and had that big win over Ruben Villa a couple of months ago. So it was a quick turnaround here for Suleiman Sagawa to get back in the ring, now up against Bruce Carrington there. And Bruce Carrington, of course, they're undefeated at 12-0 with 8 of those wins by way of knockout. And this will be his 3rd consecutive bout at the theater at Madison Square Garden. I was there for his bout that he had against Bernard Torres. And I think, he got an easy victory there in that one. And, after that bout, that's where he had the thing there where he, repeated the speech, one of the famous speeches there by Mike Tyson, said, my style is perpetuous, even if it's pregnant, all that stuff, praise Allah, all that stuff, Bruce Carrington was able to repeat that there in that bout against Bernard Torres, and then followed that up with a stoppage win over Brian DeGracia at the Madison Square Garden Theater. So this one here is going to be another one here for Bruce Carrington. And like I said, with Suleiman Sagawa having that big win over Ruben Villa, he's had, key wins in the featherweight division, particularly against Marcel Lopez and Prince Zani in last year. He did lose to Jermaine Ortiz in 2020 and had a no contest against Cobia Breedy and has a win over Elijah Pierce. Yeah, he does have a win over Elijah Pierce, who, has been coming up the ranks really fast in the super bantamweight division, 122, So he's had, Suleiman Sagawa has had a number of fights against some notable fighters, there, in the course of his professional career. I mentioned those who I mentioned before. He's also fought William Foster and Abraham Nova, in his pro career. So he's fought a good amount of notable fighters, there as, ever since he's been stateside. Like he started his career, over in his home country in Uganda. and then was able to have the residency here in the States, and was able to continue to fight here in the U.S. From what I would say, I was looking here on the rec from 2018 up to this particular point. So it's been a pretty good track there for Suleiman Sagawa up to this particular point. Like I said, had that big win over Ruben Villa in July 13th of this year at the Palms Casino, where he, pretty much just outbox, out hustle Ruben Villa. That could have been something where, I guess Top Rank could have had, Villa versus Bruce Carrington, probably, in this card or something like that. But, with Suleiman Sagawa getting this win, that put him here in a prime position for a WBC title eliminator bout against Bruce Carrington. And like I said, with Bruce Carrington, one of the fighters here that has been mentioned as a top prospect of sorts there by Top Rank, particularly Tim Bradley, of course, who's one of the commentators there for Top Rank Boxing. And like I said, I mean, I've actually been there for Carrington's bout against Bernard Angelo Torres. I think the other one was Brandon Chambers back in 2023. So I've been, in attendance for, a couple of his bouts, and, had spoken with him at one point, when he had pretty much like 4 or 5 fights as a professional, so it's been something to see Bruce Carrington, kind of come up here in the ranks at featherweight, and he's had a lot of support being from Brownsville area there in New York City, right? So you're going to see a lot of fans in support of Bruce Carrington, but you may also see a good amount of fans there in support for Suleiman Sagawa, because he does have a good following here over in the DMV, so you could see a number of those fans make that trek up to New York City for this particular bout. So I'm really looking forward to this one here. Like I said, I was able to give y'all the records there for both of these fighters, right? You have Sagawa there at 33 years old, at 5'8", with a reach of 69. Bruce Carrington is there at 27 years old, at 5'8", with a reach of 72. I think, you had something there where Bruce Carrington was looking to be the, faster fighter in this particular bout here against Suleiman Sagawa, and tried to, use whatever reach advantage he has in order to, start off his offense pretty quickly. That's what I'm going to be looking at in this particular bout that they have between these two. And like I said, this could lead to, really, really key bouts here for the winner. I know that Top Rank does have the WBO featherweight champion there in Espinoza, right? Rafael Espinoza. But we got to see what happens with Rafael Espinoza, because for some time it looked like they could have set up a rematch between Espinoza and Robeisy Ramirez, but as of right now, at least from my end, I have not seen anything that has that fight being any closer to actually happening, right? So now I'm like, well, if that's the case, maybe they're just waiting it out to see what happens later on down the line, or maybe they could have potentially a unification bout between Rafael Espinoza and newly crowned IBF champion Angelo Leo. So maybe they could be setting that up there for for Espinoza, Rafael Espinoza. But for Bruce Carrington, I mean, he's currently, like I mentioned, at number 2 in the WBC, number 1 in the WBA, number 8 in the IBF, but at number 2 in the WBO. So he is like a highly, highly rated fighter, or highly ranked fighter in the featherweight rankings there for the sanctioning body. So this fight right here could kind of like set him up to potentially, if not for his next fight, but then the fight after that, he could be competing for a world title. So that's something there to look for in that bout between Bruce Carrington and Suleiman Sagawa. That's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a really, really contentious bout. You know, I'm trying to see here, what else we got going down as, you know, we're going to see also undefeated fighter at 154 pounds, Xander Zayas, going up against Damian Sosa in a 10-round scheduled bout. Actually, that, is going to be, part of, this thing here as far as like, I think that one's going to be on ESPN Plus, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll have to, confirm that as far as like the scheduling goes. But Xander Zayas, he's been in New York City, fought in New York City a number of times. This is going to be his 6th appearance there in New York City, fighting on this particular fight card. So he's there at 19-0 with, what is it? 12 of those wins by way of knockout, right? Going up against Damian Sosa. Damian Sosa is 25-2 with 12 of those wins by way of knockout at 5'9" with a reach of 71.5. And Xander Zayas is there at 5'10" with a reach of 74. So Xander Zayas is going to have the reach advantage in this fight. We had Zayas, kind of like be featured there at the Madison Square Garden Theater. His last bout was a few months ago against Patrick Teixeira there, where he had, a near shutout in 10 rounds against Patrick Teixeira. Teixeira is a former world champion there at 154 pounds. If I'm not mistaken, Patrick Teixeira was the former WBO champion at 154 pounds, right? Before losing that belt to Brian Carlos Castaño, right? So he was kind of like part of that, all those fights that happened at 154 pounds, culminating in Jermell Charlo being the undisputed champion at 154 pounds. So Teixeira was, fairly tough fighter or rugged fighter there for that one. I think if I'm not mistaken, he had like a number of spots on his back there in his bout against Xander Zayas. I think, yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. But there for Xander Zayas, he's at 22 years old. I mean, it seems like he's been a pro for almost like 5 years. It seems like, but nah, that's not the case. He had his pro debut in 2019. What was it? I was at his bout, didn't he? Yeah, he was at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta in 2021. There, you know what I'm saying? He had a win there against Nan Carpenter. That was part of that. Shakur Stevenson versus Jamel Herring bout. That was there over in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen, I've been out there to see Xander Zayas live a couple of times. There, whether it's Atlanta or in, New York. I think what was it? The Alexis Flores fight. Yeah, I was at that one. There that was for that about where you had Teofimo Lopez versus Sandor Martin. Yeah, that card. Yeah, I was at that one. But Xander Zayas is really been up there getting up the ranks at 154 pounds. He's kind of like been hanging around there around the number 3, number 5 or something like that, or number 6 or number 7 in the sanctioning bodies at 154 pounds. He's just, getting to that point where he could potentially have that high profile bout or of sorts at the 154 pound division, but we could see him against another fighter that's part of this card that had recently been signed with Top Rank and had a bout over in Albuquerque, just a couple of months back. So, and a lot of people have been trying to point these two particular fighters together at 154 pounds to kind of clash, I guess, in 2025. But for now, with Xander Zayas, he has this bout here against Damian Sosa. As I mentioned, 25 wins and 2 losses, 12 wins by way of knockout. Um, he's basically been, having a majority of his fights over in Mexico. So this is something where, they kind of say that this is like a feature fight of sorts for Xander Zayas, but we'll see how that goes. Xander Zayas, usually takes care of business in fights when he's the significant favorite in the bout. So that's what I'm looking for here for Xander Zayas to have a big win of sorts there against Damian Sosa on Friday night. All right. Other bouts that are on here include, as I mentioned, Elvis Rodriguez versus Kendo Castaneda, Rohan Polanco versus Marcelino Lopez. But the other bout that I wanted to mention here in the super welterweight division is with Vito Milnicki Jr. As I mentioned, yes, he has been a recent signee there under Top Rank Boxing. I did have that interview with him, after he had that signing there with Top Rank. Had his bout against Laszlo Toth on August 10th, over in Albuquerque, as I mentioned, right? But that didn't necessarily go that far, so to speak. Only went like around less than 2 rounds. So now you have him back at it here against Khalil El Haraj. So this will be like his third bout, there this year. So he's been fairly busy here in the 154-pound division. Khalil El Haraj, I think this is something where they kind of like had this as maybe a filler fight. Just being honest, it looks like a filler fight. Keeping Vito Milnicki busy. Like I said before, it looks like signs are pointing to Vito Milnicki and Xander Zayas fighting sometime in 2025. Maybe it could be for Puerto Rican Day weekend, June 2025. And that would be something because you have Xander Zayas, of course, is, based in New York, right? And you have Vito Milnicki Jr. based in New Jersey. So not that far, not that far. Zayas, kind of like is semi there in New York. He's had, like I said, the number of fights there in New York. Of course, has Puerto Rican background and everything like that. So that about between Zayas and Vito Milnicki for June of 2025 in New York, that would be really, really good. Now, I don't know, just being honest, I don't know if it would be something that'll headline, Puerto Rican Day weekend, but it would be a really, 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 really good bout to have during that weekend, But, like I said, these two fighters do have their separate bouts here coming up on Friday night. And you definitely are looking forward to that. Now, want to have a great guest on here with me for the Midweek Report. Of course, is co-host of Brunch Boxing. It's on Saturdays. There on X. It's my guy, brother Ezra, is in the building. What's going on, Ezra?
How's it going, JB? What are we talking about today?
We got the Top Rank fight card that's coming up Friday night. We have Atlantic City Hall of Fame weekend that's coming up also, and you also want to see what you thought about what was said by Tim Tszyu in his presser that happened earlier as well.
That is he's not there to play around. He's there to get down to business. He wants those fights. He wants to prove who he is. I don't know. Maybe there's a thing where like Benavidez, right? He got financially secure with some fights early on, where he felt like he could take some chances in his career because he's like, all right, I got some good paydays in. I could take some chances. I could risk some things. maybe Zoo's in that position where he feels like he can risk some things. Maybe we're seeing this backwards where guys that are chasing these giant paydays are less likely to take those chances because they feel if they lose, they're never going to get back there. But Zoo kind of, maybe he feels a little bit more comfort that he can take these chances because he seems eager to get in with anyone. He's okay. It looks like he's okay taking a loss. He don't want to take one, but he's okay risking it, that's for sure. I just like the guy's whole mentality in boxing. I really do. He's one of those guys that I'm a fan of.
Yeah. I mean, going into, what happened in March when he had the bout against Sebastian Fundora, he fell short in a close bout, there on that one. But, even with that, he was willing to turn right around and have the fight with Virgil Ortiz Jr., in August, man.
Unheard of.
That's unheard of, man. And the thing about it it's like, hey, man, if they would have had that fight, a whole lot of people when that fight was announced, they were really, really psyched up for it. But then, like I said, it, kind of like fell through and everything like that. So, a lot of people were bummed out about that, but he's able to, turn right around and have a world title fight over in Orlando, Florida, Caribe Resort there in Orlando, Florida. So he's, looking forward to it, for sure.
Yeah, and he's going to make a statement. He's looking to make a statement, you know what I mean? And he wants to keep fighting, stay active, and fight all the names. So in that division, that's a perfect mentality to have in that division.
Yeah, I'm seeing here, he gets through this fight against Backroom Zaliev, is able to win the IBF version of the 154-pound title, and that opens things up for a lot of good fights there at the top of the 154-pound division. And he is like one of those top names there, notoriety-wise at 154 that could, potentially get some good bouts in. I mean, he could have that bout against Virgil Ortiz Jr. He could, revisit a rematch there with Sebastian Fundora, depending on what happens here with Sebastian Fundora, which I may talk about here in a little bit. But also, Terrence Crawford. But we'll see what happens with Terrence Crawford as well, too. So I think, 154-pound division is, once again, very, very talented as far as like their crop of fighters. You know what I'm saying? So we could have another era of like, from 2018 or so to 2022 where the 154-pound division had a number of great fights out there. And it would include Tim Tszyu in this particular run,
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious, where's his star power at? Like, what's his limit on his star power? Because I feel like he could be a big star. But I do think Fundora was kind of like a hit where that was supposed to be – he was supposed to have Thurman. That was supposed to be the fight to get him over, right? That was the name. Then he fights Fundora. It's a good fight, but he comes up short in it. He's going to get right back in there. Smart. But I'm just curious, what's his cap? What's his ceiling on star power? I think there's potential there for a big star. I think there's potential for having a name in boxing.
Yeah, that's a good question because, I would like to see, how, he'll be able to generate interest here in this particular upcoming bout against Backroom Zaliev. I know that that's supposed to be one of those free Amazon Prime fight cards there. And then, see how many people will be able to attend there at the Caribe Resort in Orlando, Florida, there for that particular weekend. So, we'll have to see, how that particularly goes on that front. And like I said, he'll, kind of like open multiple possibilities out there at 154, depending on, what he's able to do here, coming up, I was going to see if you were able to speak there with Tim Tszyu or ask a question there with Tim Tszyu.
No, I couldn't unmute my mic. I was there. They called me up. I couldn't unmute my mic. It was no option. I was trying to explain to Matt, but he wasn't trying to hear that. But there was no option to unmute my mic. It happened to me and three other people. So I didn't feel excluded, but I did.
Okay, three other people were not able to.
Unmute their mics. It was like three questions in a row where they were like, "Hey, go ahead, unmute your mic," and people could not do it.
Oh, I don't know, man. I wasn't able to catch it, so I don't know if it was Andrew Roberts that was, handling the thing there for the PR as far as like opening the queue for questions or not. But that's usually the person that kind of like handles the the virtual press conference.
Yeah, they called my name. They said, "Hey, you got your hand raised. Go ahead." Mm-hmm. And then when I tried to talk, there was nothing happening. I was like, "Oh, I don't know what to do."
Oh man. So I don't know, man. I guess that kind of like was going by the wayside. But maybe we could talk with a couple of people here and there, and then arrange for maybe Tim Zoo to be part of, brunch boxing and be on spaces there for brunch boxing. I guess
that's what I'm shooting for. That's what I'm shooting for. I got a lot of hard hitting questions for Tim Zoo.
Yeah, that could work, man. I mean, we got some good time. We got about a few weeks or so, before his bout comes up there. Like I said, it's going to be October 19th. There over in Orlando, Florida. So folks could be able to get prepared, for that here coming up. So that's going to be good. Also, before you're able to jump on here, I was able to kind of like preview a few of those fights that are part of that Top Rank card that is coming up on Friday night. Like I said, you have Michaela Mayer there versus Sandy Ryan for that welterweight title. That's headlining there, and then also, I was talking about, Bruce Carrington versus Suleiman Sagawa. Two fighters. They're in the featherweight division where I've been able to see their fights live and seen both of them be able to compete in some good matchups there. But they have Bruce Carrington as the guy that is one of the top prospects, as they say, there for Top Ranking. Looks like they're trying to have him kind of like featured in a sense again against Suleiman Sagawa, where Sagawa got that big win over Ruben Villa a couple months ago, which kind of like, I guess, maybe some could say derailed the plans there for Top Rank in a sense. Maybe they wanted to have Ruben Villa versus Bruce Carrington around this time, but with Sagawa getting this win, he's the one that's being able to be in the mix there in the WBC rankings in particular. And this, like I mentioned, is going to be a WBC eliminator of sorts. So what are your thoughts about that? And maybe some of the fights and the fighters on the card in general.
Well, I mean, shoot for Shushu, this is like, he's in a good division, right? As far as there's a lot of competition there. There's a lot of guys to face. There's also an Inoue fight that potentially, kind of feels like they're hinting towards, right? Mm-hmm. Inoue was definitely there for his fight. So definitely hinting towards something. I think that as far as his potential to be like almost an American star in that weight class, I do think there's something there. I think Sagawa looked very good his last fight. I think he's also in a good spot. This is a real good spot for both guys because this is Shushu really, this is his step into contenders. Like, I am a contender now. The next guy I fight will probably be a champion. And Sagawa's going to say, if I beat Shushu, I'm now made my name relevant in this division and can compete for the belts now in there. And like I said, Inoue's coming. Inoue payday is there for these guys. So they're all kind of playing musical chairs at that weight, hoping they're there when Inoue comes.
Yep, for sure. I mean, we did hear from your guy Bob Arum talking about, well, we have something for Naoya Inoue. We're gonna honor him. Yes, we're gonna honor him. And then in 2025, we're gonna have Naoya Inoue fight in Las Vegas or something like that. Something to that extent. But
yes.
Yeah, it really set him up for that because he had that bout where he just looked like he was just showing up to show up, and they got a win. And then they say, hey, he's gonna be right back in the ring in December, man. Like, he might as well fight the top contenders that's remaining there at 122 on the same night. Because it ain't.
No, you're right. You're right about this.
He might as well do that on the same night.
And the reason I won't be critical of him staying at 122 and fighting these contenders that I don't think are top challenges for him is because if there's a Junso fight actually possible, if we're close to a Junso fight, then okay, you got me. I'll be patient, right? If you're close to a Junso fight, but if there's not a Junso fight and you're just staying there to fight these guys, I can't excuse it because it's just these are not good fights. We know, and it's not his fault they're not good fights. The guys aren't at his level. He's too good for them. But you have to find the competition then. I'm a believer of that. I'm a believer that if you get to a certain point, you got to go find the competition then. And I've been critical with Tank. I'm critical with Canelo at times. So I got to be critical in a way at times. If there isn't, we're not building to the Junso fight, who Junso has the potential to be an elite fighter, could be the toughest challenge for him, then I'm okay waiting. I'm okay waiting out while he stays busy. But if that's not it, then this is just kind of a waste of time, I feel like.
But that's the thing about it with me. I mean, it's like I don't think that they're going to have Inoue versus Nakatani anytime soon. I don't see that happening. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, then yeah, just go ahead and move up to 126. Move up to 126. that's what it's looking like. Bob Arum is planning to have, to happen there with Inoue, because a good number of the fighters that he had is out there at 126. I mentioned them there with the Bruce Carrington, with the Robeisy Ramirez, with the Rafael Espinosas at the very least, and he probably has a deal worked out there, with Angelo Leo. Maybe something worked out with Angelo Leo there, Top Rank and Pro Box, or whatever it is. So there's a good amount of fighters that could make for some good fights there for Naoya Inoue at 126. It's just up to him when he wants to move up to 126.
Exactly.
So there's that on that front. I also mentioned there that Xander Zayas is going to be fighting on the card against Damian Sosa, and also Vito Mielnicki Jr. Is there against Khalil El Haraz, and I think this is kind of like him being fit in, because he really didn't have much of a fight there in his last bout over in Albuquerque. That was just less than 2 rounds, and he won by DQ. So they're able to fit him in here in this fight.
The move? Are they moving Mielnicki to fight Zayas? Is that what the move is here? Are they building towards that?
Yes, I'm kind of seeing if that's going to be the case. And I said this before you're on, that what if they could have Xander Zayas against Vito Mielnicki Jr. versus in Puerto Rican Day weekend, man? Like, you got Zayas there, having a number of fights in New York. You got Vito Mielnicki Jr. based in New Jersey. Hey, why not?
Yeah, I'm always critical of Top Rank's matchmaking. I actually think that's pretty creative if they could get those two guys together. To me, Zayas is kind of stalling out a little bit on as far as what I see his potential. Like I was maybe a little bit higher on him, but then I'm like, okay, I just see this as good marketing and good matchmaking. But now it's getting a little bit better. He's not looking that as like a world beater or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Now Vito Mielnicki has not looked like a world beater ever in his career, but he's a guy that's had a relevant name. He's a guy that you do kind of want to see what he's going to look like against a little higher competition. And Zayas is the guy that hasn't proved himself to be an elite guy, but they're both guys that need each other. I guess you need the guy that wins that can come out and be on, have a little bit more momentum. So I like that fight. I like that matchmaking.
Yeah, that's pretty good there as far as what they're doing. When it comes to like Karma Ready or a couple of the other guys that are involved there with Top Rank, how they're building some of these fighters, some of these young fighters that are coming up. And as I mentioned there with Vito Mielnicki, he's recent signee there for Top Rank. So they're kind of like getting their fighters set up for some good matchups later on down the line. I think that's been what Top Rank has done over the years. So kind of like have to see how that goes there for at least these two fighters, particularly what happens on Friday night and then in 2025. So, definitely want to see, what goes on there on that one. You know what I mean? You also had Tiger Johnson that's going to be part of this card. You got Floyd Diaz also included on this card, and Rohan Polanco and Elvis Rodriguez. So you got a number of fighters out there, whether they're undefeated or they only have, maybe like one loss that are featured on the A side here on this Top Rank fight card. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see these young number of these young fighters there in the ring.
Yeah, Top Rank, Top Rank special filled up with prospects. Get them some cans, smashing some cans, and then give you some. I like the main event a lot. I do really. I know people are critical of women's boxing and stuff like that. I think actually the main event's pretty interesting on that fight. So I do like main event. I think that's good. I think the Shushu character fight's good. And then I don't mind seeing prospects. The prospects that I've been following, been paying attention to. I don't mind seeing them get better.
Yeah. And like I was saying there with the main event, I mean, particularly with Michaela Mara, this is another one of those, I would say, feature fights that she's involved in where, they kind of, built her up to, be like one of those fighters that could be built as a star there in women's boxing, but, giving her a fight against Alicia Baumgartner, and then recently, there against Natasha Jonas, she ended up falling short here. So she has this next chance here against Sandy Ryan, who, could have been a unified champion there at welterweight if the judges didn't have it as a draw when she fought Jessica McCaskill. Because a number of people thought that Sandy Ryan won that bout, but it ended up being a draw. So now you have these two here that are pretty much around the top fighters in that particular division now going up against each other. So it should be a very good one.
Whenever they match up like two top women fighters, it usually delivers. I don't know why, but it usually delivers. Like people don't want to give it his credit, but it delivers. And Sandy Ryan is a very good fighter. I really like her style. I really like her. She's actually, I think, really hit her top form now, especially off her last fight. And Michaela Mayer is a good fighter too, and she's going to apply pressure. It's going to be action. I like the fight.
Yeah, it's a very, very good fight. I had previewed it there earlier. I think, like you said, it's good styles that mesh there between the two. So I like to see how that ends up there in the main event at the Madison Square Garden Theater there. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to make the trek over there for that particular fight card, and then the next day I'll be involved in the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame weekend, which actually does have a fight card going on at the Resorts Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City on Friday night as well. So Friday there's going to be a good amount of fights. There's going to be a good amount of fights there that's happening in multiple places there. I think there was another one where there's supposed to be a fight card over in Baltimore also that's going on Saturday. And also you have Alicia Baumgartner that's fighting on Friday night against Delphine Persoon over in Atlanta, Georgia too. So like I said, there's a good amount of boxing matches that are happening this weekend there. If you're crazy boxing there or whatnot. I don't know, Ezra, if y'all have any parlays that are going on there for this weekend or not, if they include any of these fights that are happening on Friday. But this could be that opportunity for, to kind of like get a little bit of change here and there, building yourself up for, other
anyone
fights down the line.
Anyone that's following my parlays knows I need to hit big. I am in the red. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how bad at betting I am. I never knew how bad at betting I am, but I'm going to turn it around this weekend. I'm cooking some parlays up. I'm definitely cooking some parlays up. I'm just curious, how do you see Shushu looking? Do you think he gets a decision? You think he gets a stoppage? Because him getting decision is plus money, which is pretty interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think decision is going. I would say it would be plus money there. Thing is, it's like with Sagawa, he's kind of a pretty. He has a pretty awkward style. So for Carrington, he's going to have to take a couple of rounds here to try to get what Sagawa is doing there in that bout. So I don't know. Maybe he could try to go ahead and get the stoppage, but we would have to see there. You definitely have to see in that instance there. So. But yeah, that's one fight that I'm also kind of like focused on there for that fight card. So I think we're gonna have Matt there also, a host of Brunch Boxing, is supposed to be there in attendance for that fight card as well. So we'll see how he assesses the number of the fights that are going to take place there at the theater at Madison Square Garden.
I feel like he'll be critical. I got to be honest with you. Matt is very negative, unless it's a approach that he's a fan of. He's pretty critical. He's a pretty critical guy. I've been noticing that. He's a very critical guy of it. But I will give you my opinion when we do a Brunch Boxing. I will tell you. I will be honest on what I expect of the card and the positivity. I'm negative towards Top Rank, but I do think this is all right card. I'm actually a fan of this card.
Gotcha. So it remains to be seen how he's going to critique this fight card, and particularly I would be interested to see what he thinks about the main event.
I'll be surprised if he stays for the main event. I got to be honest with you.
There you go.
I'll be surprised he's not already walking home by the time the main event comes.
There you go. That's the thing that I'm looking forward to seeing, if he's going to actually stay for the main event. That's going to be something, right? But Yeah, that's the fight card there at the theater at Madison Square Garden. Now, for me, I'm going to not necessarily turn right around because I'm gonna have the drive to go up to uh, New York City, and then in the morning, depending on how quick the turnaround is, I'm going to head towards Atlantic City for that Boxing Hall of Fame. It's the 8th annual induction weekend there for the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, right? They're going to have, events there that's on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday there. So, pretty much going to be doing that here in this end. Shout out to, real quick shout out for Israel to come on here. I know that he also is out there with his young child too. So kind of like minded what's going on with his kid there. But as I was mentioning there with Boxing Hall of Fame weekend, you have the events there on Friday coming up. You're gonna have on Sirius XM Radio at the fights with Jerry Cooney and Randy Gordon. That's going to be interesting because Jerry Cooney is one of the inductees in this particular class of the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. So he's going to be, talk a little bit about being inducted there in the Hall of Fame and all the stuff that's going on during the weekend. And also, like I said, I'll be there Saturday, September 28th. I'll be there as early as possible. You have the fight fan experience starting at 10 a.m., ending at about 2 p.m., right? And then, we have a reception that's going on around 6 p.m., but doors open at 7 p.m., leading into the actual awards and induction ceremony that will honor as fighters Punisher Paul Williams, Mark Breland, Eva Jones Young, Maravilla, Sergio Martinez, Tyrone Mitchell Frazier, Sean Bay Mitchell, James Buster Douglas, Mario Maldonado, and as I mentioned before, Jerry Cooney as the fighters. And yes, I did have a conversation with Sean Bay Mitchell last week in reference to him being inducted into the Hall of Fame. We got Ezra back here with us there for a little bit. Yeah, I was talking about what's going on at the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, and I mentioned those fighters out there. Of course, you know about likes of like James Buster Douglas, Sean Bay Mitchell, Punisher Paul Williams, Mark Breland, Sergio Martinez, Jerry Cooney, a number of them actually here in this particular class. So as far as like the fighters are concerned,
yeah, it's pretty cool getting Sergio Martinez and Paul Williams in the same room. Those guys'
in
careers
the same
are tied to each
class.
other. Yeah, those careers are tied to each other. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's definitely good there. And we have as far as like special contributors that are going to be part of the induction, that includes Buddy McGirt. He's of course former fighter, but he's there going to be inducted as a trainer. Bruce Blair is going to be inducted as a trainer. Samson Lukowitz there, of course, is a manager and promoter. Samson Boxing. There also Randy Gordon and Guy Gargan and Eric Batcher, who is a matchmaker. There as part of the class. You're gonna have like pioneers such as George Godfrey, George Ardello, and Eric Seelig, and you're gonna have Jay Larkin and Eddie Cotton and Howard Davis Jr. Also being inducted posthumously as part of this. And actually, what's going to happen is tomorrow. It was actually scheduled for later. Actually, it was scheduled for 9:00 today, but it will be tomorrow. As I will have Rob Scott of the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame is going to be talking about the particular weekend as well. So, definitely looking forward to that tomorrow. It's going to be on the channel. So, what is it going to be like? Three days of stuff that we're going to have here on the Boxing Source channel there. So that's going to be something as well. So y'all be sure to tune in for that live tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So let's see here. There's like a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. One is in reference to, I guess, people are trying to stir up the pot, so to speak, when it comes to Errol Spence Jr. And it says like there's more buzz about him, getting back in the ring and getting in there against Sebastian Fundora. Of course, it's been mentioned multiple times before. It was scheduled, seeing if they would have it for November and then December, and I guess now they're looking to try to have it in early 2025. Um, you know, thing about it is, it's like we kind of like seeing Spence off and on, doing a few things here and there, but it just remains to be seen if this fight actually happens. But my thing is with Fundora is unified the WBC and WBO super welterweight champion. As the WBO super welterweight champion, he was ordered to have a bout with Terrence Crawford. Now, that particular bid, if I'm not mistaken, or at least the negotiation period, is supposed to be running out about this time. Is see if they will be able to, I guess, maybe, possibly, potentially, go to purse bid. But something tells me that I don't even think it's going to even go to that. And I think that there's going to be something where a case of Terrence Crawford declining to have this bout, to elect to pursue that bout against Canelo Alvarez in 2025. Israel, what's your thoughts about this particular story here?
The Spence fight is kind of turning into what Danny Garcia Lara was for me for a lot of years, where I just kept hearing about this fight, but I never kept seeing it on cards. I never seen it made official, and then years later it was official finally. I don't know if that fight's going to happen. I don't know if Errol Spence is going to come back. I think it's a rumor because this keeps going around, but I don't know. I like that fight for him. I do like if he's going to come back. I do like the Fundora fight. I think that's a very interesting fight. Now with Terrence Crawford, I don't know if him and Fundora get in the ring. I think that they have a plan for Fundora. I don't think it includes Terrence Crawford. So if it doesn't include Terrence Crawford, I don't know why Terrence Crawford wouldn't just say, okay, I'll go with this fight. Let's go to purse bid. Because I don't think they want to do that. And now I know people say that Fundora has no problem fighting Crawford, but the only problem with that is I think that the PBC has dates that they want to fulfill with Amazon. And I think that if that goes to purse bid, there's a chance they lose that fight to the purse bid. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to take that chance. So I think there's a chance that if Crawford just plays, just as this keep going with it, that Fedor just drops the belt, and then Crawford becomes the full champ. Now I do want to throw a conspiracy theory at you because Crawford has a Canelo fight that we're all rumored to happen, but there was a fight rumored for Canelo to happen that wasn't Berlinga, and that was Chris Eubank. Now, people laughed at it, but it was talked about, and a lot of guys, reputable guys, said, yeah, that was a fight that was really legitimately talked about. Now, Chris Eubank this week has just been bragging how he turned down $5 million to fight Shiraz. Right? He turned $5 million down. Payday, there's not another guy that I think he could get that payday with, besides a suspended Conor Benn, right? Who knows that's going to happen. Now, why would he be bragging about that? Why would he be talking about, and why would he turn down that kind of money? Is it because he has a Canelo fight locked up next? Is he the next Canelo opponent? And the reason why you turn down 5 is if you're going to get about 8 to 10 to fight Canelo. I think that's a real possibility. And I'm not sure that Crawford's going to get this fight. I think the Canelo-Crawford fight makes a lot of sense. But I don't know. I'm like, why is this guy turning down money? The big payday, does he have another big payday lined up?
Well, I mean, that's going to be part of some things that might be able to, link some scenarios to in reference to Chris Eubank Jr. because, we had that link as far as like Chris Eubank Jr. and Terrence Bud Crawford in reference to the trainer. Of course, Brian Bomack McIntyre. But, I mean, there's still, a number of other possibilities that are out there that I'll kind of explain. But I also wanted to add in another guest here for the Midweek Report. Of course, he is the host of Brunch Boxing himself. Brother Matt is in the building. What's happening?
Why do you have this guy on slandering Canelo again? Listen, everywhere I go, I gotta listen to this guy every week slandering Canelo. Let me tell you something. Canelo Alvarez is the face of boxing. He is great. He's entitled to fight whoever the hell he wants. And I suspect that Canelo Alvarez is going to give us the fight we've all been asking for, and he's going to fight David Benavidez. He's not going to fight Chris Eubank Jr. It's not happening.
Yeah, I just don't know where the whole Chris Eubank thing is coming from. I just don't see Chris Eubank being a opponent that's at the top of the list there for Santos Saul Alvarez Barragan. Okay. So yeah, that's why, we got to see what happens here come December when it comes to David Benavidez, to see if they, link him in for a fight in December. Part of the, rumor card that would include him and Gervonta Tank Davis. And then after that, and maybe they'll link up a fight between Canelo and Benavidez, particularly with what Canelo had been saying as far as like dealing with PBC. So he feels like he's, sticking with PBC for the long haul, on that side. Now, on the flip side there, what I mentioned about, Sebastian Fundora being the WBO champion at 154 pounds and Terrence Crawford being the WBO interim champion at 154 pounds, that could be a potential matchup. The WBO had ordered it. We, as of right now, we haven't seen much, progress on it. Yeah, I did see Terrence Crawford out there at London there for that Riyadh season weekend. But I didn't, really ask him any questions as far as like, what he's, if he was like any closer to having a fight with Sebastian Fundora. But I'm just saying here, like his presence being at Riyadh season, like him still like being represented by Turki Al-Sheikh says that if it's not like a fight that deals with like Riyadh season in a certain capacity, then he's not really going to be that much interested in it. So as far as like him versus Sebastian Fundora, I'm not really seeing it, and I'm really not seeing him or his representatives being involved in a potential purse bid that would happen, because the negotiation period between him and Sebastian Fundora should be running out, tomorrow, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. So
September 27th.
Well, September 27th, yeah, because 30 days from August 28th. Yeah, so Friday, right? So we'll be able to find out Friday if anything happens as far as like the WBO posting a statement saying that they're scheduling a purse bid between the two, or anything that's happened where maybe one of the parties said that they declined to be involved in having that fight altogether. And I'm thinking that it's going to be Crawford's side that says that they're not really interested or to try to be involved in that particular fight. So that's what I see in that. You know what I mean? So there's that. Hey Matt, since you're on, man, I heard that you're scheduled to be part of this card that's coming up on Friday night at the theater at Madison Square Garden. So any thoughts of that card that is coming up on Friday via Top Rank?
Yes, I do have thoughts, but that a lot of reporters are getting banned for telling their true thoughts about certain cards and situations. So I will not be giving my thought publicly. I would like to attend.
Oh boy! Oh man! Oh man!
Now, Matt, I am curious. I know you saw the Chris Eubank thing today, the press conference, and you saw him, bash some promoters. What were your thoughts on that? Of him bashing promoters, but paying tribute to Turki Al-Sheikh?
Listen, I know him too well. And you know what, Turki Al-Sheikh, he's a great man, according to the promoters, and we'll just leave it at that. Listen, if that's how they feel, that's how they feel. That's what the experience is with him. I'm not gonna There's a certain reporter who I would tell you to ask how they feel about Turkey Al Sheikh, but he's unavailable for
Really?
whatever reason.
Hmm.
This guy named Jamal Khashoggi. So listen. I don't have anything to say about it. I just found it funny that he statement after Frank Warren threatened to sue him and all this other stuff. I didn't really see anything actionable that Frank Warren could have sued him for. So I
Mm.
suspect meeting of the minds happened, and it was like, hey, listen, we don't need this shit. Like, guys, just calm down.
Oh man. Oh man. I don't know, man. How that's going to shape itself out. At least particularly with Chris Eubank. Um, you know, uh, Something tells me that they might try to revisit Eubank and Ben, but we'll see. Particularly with Connor Ben not being very what I say assured as to the weight that he will be at on his next fight. He didn't say
I, I,
147.
I I
He
think the
didn't say
interesting thing with
154.
Kyle is going to happen next month, because next month he goes to a hearing in front of the BBOC,
Hmm.
uh, try to fight for his license. So there is a chance that Conor Ben may lift it. There's a
Mm.
chance that we won't see Conor Ben for another 2 years. So we'll
Mm.
see. We
Yeah.
will see. It'll be a very interesting month for him.
Yeah, that's something. Not sure there. You might be on your I guess iPods or something, but some of the speech that you have there, Matt, is kind of like getting kind of like clumpered, pretty much like
Yeah,
compressed.
you sound like Joe Joyce in that interview where he doesn't know he stops and then he says something and then he stops again. That's
Right,
exactly.
right, right.
No,
So
no, it's this stupid StreamYard. I keep hearing like it keeps like a pause every time you talk, and then you speed up, and then there's another pause, and it's like I think it's the StreamYard for me today. I don't know why.
speaking of that, um, and probably around a couple weeks from now, there will be a change in reference to how I kind of like host these. So yeah, maybe if there's something happens with that, then that might be part of the fix because StreamYard might have a little bit of a
Hey,
change.
yeah,
Yeah.
they suck,
So
man. They suck, man. They fucking suck. But shout
yeah.
out to StreamYard. If y'all want to sponsor Brunch Boxing, listen, we in.
Yeah, so so that's something there as far as like that situation, particularly with Conor Ben and the British Boxing Board of Control that we're going to keep an eye on as well. The other thing there that I was going to talk about here real quick was the additions to the November 9th card at Wells Fargo Center. You're going to have Ray Ford there against Orlando Gonzalez and Khalil Cole going up against Manuel Gallegos and Ernesto Mercado, recent signee for Matchroom, that's going to be part of this fight card that has, of course, Jerron Ennis versus Karen Chikazian and Bam Rodriguez going up against Pedro Guevara. So it's going to be a very fairly busy card there at Wells Fargo Center on November 9th. And that's going to be a very busy weekend because, of course, you got what's going on in Norfolk, Virginia on November 8th, and then this on November 9th. And I also know that there's going to be a local card here in the DMV area. What is it at the casino, the Live Casino, Maryland Live, there on November 9th as well. That's a Jeter Promotions card that's coming up too. So a lot of stuff going on. That weekend is going to be crazy. I'm telling you, it's going to be absolutely crazy. So just looking forward to that as well. Here in this instance, man. But mainly, that's mainly what I had here for this particular midweek report. As I said, tomorrow, we're going to have some more things going on, as Rob Scott from the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame will be on with us here tomorrow evening to talk about the Hall of Fame weekend there in Atlantic City. It's going to be like I said, a very busy weekend for me, man. So not much rest for me after being overseas. So that's part of the game here in boxing, man. As far as like covering the sport, that's what you got to do. Like I said, if you can, share this midweek report. If you can, also hit the like button. Check us out, here on YouTube or Rumble or whatever it is. And anything out here from you, Matt, here before I close out here real quick.
Yeah. Listen, I'm very disappointed in all the boxing writers that were out there interviewing Terrence Crawford. Asked him back to fight again in 2024. That's what we really want to know. That's the hot story. I can't wait till Friday to see what purse bid, see who wins this game of chicken.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I kind of, didn't really get on him for that. At least, he was kind of like had like a good reception over there in the UK, when he was out there. So, but like I said, with this presence out there, in the UK, that meant to me that he, was going to continue to be involved and to a certain extent with Riyadh season. So I'm kind of leaning towards him not fighting for the rest of the year, and that he'll be part of a Riyadh season card in 2025, because at the very least we already got what's going on in October, November, and then December for Riyadh season. And Terrence Crawford isn't necessarily involved in any of that, right? So if he's not going to be involved in Riyadh season card, where do y'all see that he would fit in on a quote unquote PBC card? I don't see that happening. So that's why I got the reference to all that as far as like responding to that. Like I said, tomorrow got Rob Scott from the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. We'll have as much coverage as we possibly can on Friday, and then Saturday we have the induction ceremony for the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. So y'all be sure to be on the lookout for that. But big ups to Brother Matt and Brother Ezra for being part of this version of the Midweek Report. And I'll catch y'all later.